Hey guys, it's Clone here. Today, I'm with my good friend Marklar from Big Dogs, and we're going to
Up,
be
everybody?
showcasing swing manipulation in Mordhau. So, just to dive into it, we're going to start out with, as basic as it gets, what is swing manipulation, what's a drag, what's an Accel, and then the longer the video goes on, the more we're going to dig deeper into them. So, for swing manipulation, you're basically manipulating the speed or the timing of when your weapon is going to hit your opponent. So this is really broken down into three things. It's an accel, which is you're speeding your weapon up and hitting your opponent. It's just a basic attack, which would be considered neutral. And then a drag, which would hit him at the latest point of your swing. So that's as basic as it gets. And yeah, so now that we have that out of the way, we're going to go into building your fundamentals of swing manipulation and why that's super important. So every swing or every attack you do has three stages. So if I do a regular side strike or LMB or whatever you want to call it, or an overhead or an underhand, your weapon goes through three stages. It's wind up, it's release, and then it's recovery. So I'm going to slow the video down or I'm going to slow the game down just to further show what these are. So when my weapon pulls back, I'm winding up. When it's forward, it's now in release. And then when it's over with its swing, you're now in recovery.
So it's important to note that your attack can only hit an opponent when your weapon is in release phase. You can't hit an opponent during the windup, or else I'd be hitting him right now while I'm feigning. You can only hit him when it releases, or hit your opponent when it releases.
Yep, that is correct. So going off that is the release stage of every weapon is going to be different, right? So the timing for when your weapon enters release is going to be different for, every weapon in the game. Like the halberd or the maul is going to have a longer wind up before it enters its release. So that's just something you'll have to visually see and play and experience to learn when your weapon enters that release stage. And you can see that by when your actual hands start moving forward,
Or
or
the
when
grunt.
you're... What was that?
Or the grunt.
Or the grunt. Right.
When your character grunts and he makes noise.
Yeah. So once you can identify the three stages of every attack, you're going to want to start to practice your swing manipulation in a neutral standpoint. And what I mean by that is you don't ever want to telegraph what you're about to do. You don't want to make it seem like you're about to do an accel, and the way that will happen is if you start to move your weapon to the accel point before you're in release. So if I'm in windup and I'm already turning, Mark knows I'm going to be speeding up my weapon. This is a bad example of an accel. It's because I'm turning while I'm in my wind-up stage. Same with drags. If I turn out with my wind-up, it's obvious I'm going to do a drag because I'm telegraphing what I want to do. And this is essentially why staying neutral and having neutral swing manipulation is going to be super important. So I'm gonna let Mark explain to me what a neutral accel is, what a neutral drag is, and show me, or he's gonna do them to me, and then I'm gonna do them back, so you can have visual examples of what they are.
Cool. Yeah, so a neutral attack, like an accel or a drag, is you're basically looking at your opponent until you enter the release phase of your weapon, and you're then going to either accel or drag your opponent, just on, it depends on the situation or what you're trying to accomplish, but the goal is to wait for the weapon's release. That's the key. Wait for the weapon's release to change your camera movement, to move your camera into the direction you want to go. So if I want to do a neutral accel, I look at my opponent, I wind up, and then on release, I pull in. If I want to do a drag, same concept, I just move away. I think we forgot to mention Cologne, but these are all guidelines to follow. But these rules, you don't have to follow these rules like to the T. These are just guidelines, and even higher tier players don't always follow these concepts, but these are like the core fundamentals you want to follow.
Yeah, that's
Sorry, I went a little off track there.
no, that's I should have mentioned that earlier. Is he's very right about this. Not everybody is going to, at all times in every situation, be able to completely be neutral on your opponent and then pull out at the end for a drag or
Yeah.
pull in with an Excel. So I'm gonna have Mark show a couple of Accels in a row. Let's do 3 neutral Accels, then 3 neutral drags, then mix them up on me after.
Okay. Neutral Accel, neutral Accel, neutral Accel, neutral drag, neutral drag, neutral drag.
All right, now
And then
just
you want me to mix them up?
yep, just do some mix-ups on me.
Okay.
And you can see how powerful this kind of neutral swing manipulation is by just looking at look at his upper body and head. It's neutral until the point where he's performing his actual swing manipulation, which makes me I'm almost guessing what if he's going to be excelling or dragging. All right, so now I'm gonna yeah, those are some good examples. Now I'm gonna be showcasing it from my point of view. So this is what it should look like in a when you guys are playing and practicing. So I'm gonna show 3 neutral Accels, and then I'm gonna show 3 neutral drags, and then I'm gonna mix them up on Mark. And just to clarify, when you do these type of movements with your mouse, you want to be quick, but you also want to stay smooth. You don't want to be flinging your mouse. Like if I do this and I swipe my mouse across my entire mouse pad while I'm in my animation, my camera moves very little. You want to keep smooth, quick, and consistent movements. Sorry, gotta clear my throat. So when I do these neutral Accels, I want to do kind of a gradual, swift motion, almost like a snap motion, to what I want my weapon to do. So if I do an Accel, I want to snap it to where my weapon is excelling him, and then same thing with drags. You don't want to do these spurgy movements where you're just kind of like throwing your mouse over to the right or throwing to the left. You want to keep smooth, gradual, but quick motions.
Yeah, I have a quick point to throw out there. What Cologne, when he says snap, don't think of it as like literally like CS:GO fucking flicking to your opponent. You have to remember that any weapon you can only move your camera as fast while you're swinging. You can only move your camera as fast as the turn cap on that weapon. So the greatsword, if I even no matter how fast I move my mouse while my greatsword swinging, I can only turn as fast as the greatsword allows me to. So you have to remember while you're doing your swing, it's pointless to move your mouse more than what your turn cap is, and you're not going to get it perfect. But if you move your mouse slow and steady, and there is a kind of a snapping aspect to it too, but you don't need to like flick. It's a steady movement.
Yeah. So I'm gonna now try to show what it looks like. So I'm gonna do 3 Accels, 3 drags, and then mix up. So I'll start now. Those are what the Accels, neutral Accels should look like, is I'm not moving until my weapon is in release. So here are 3 drags. Those are pretty bad. I'm gonna do 2 more.
Through me.
Alright. And now I'm just gonna do some mix-ups on you, Mark.
Cool. And you can probably tell why this is a key aspect of this game, is because he's threatening me with these Accels. I pressured to parry early, and just adding in the mix-up of the drag every so once in a while is really strong. Even though it's just like a binary 50-50, it's still really strong because your opponent either wants to early parry or he's threatened by the Accel.
Yeah, there's something called conditioning in this game, which is basically when you're fighting someone let's say if I have the initiative in a fight and I'm the one swinging, it's my turn. If I use that turn to excel my opponent and then my next turn I'll drag. The first turn I had where I excel is going to condition my opponent to thinking my swings are coming quick. I'm pressuring my opponent really hard, I'm continuing that pressure, and then I pull off a slow attack. So you essentially always want to be conditioning your opponent and then mixing up that condition that you've placed.
You can technically condition with drags too. It's considered better to condition with accels because your opponent's more pressured. They don't have as much time. But I mean, conditioning with drags is just as viable. Like if you're dragging a lot and your opponent's expecting a drag, and then all of a sudden you just bring it in them.
Boom.
Like they think they have so much time to parry, but then all of a sudden you just instantly hit them.
Like right there, I actually was trying to parry, and that excel
Yeah.
just comes out of nowhere. So it's the highest, the top of the top players in this game fall for swing manip all the time. It's swing manip is only, people are always learning how to get better. The reason I'm making this video is to show the fundamentals of it and to have you guys have a good building block. Like you guys want to improve your swing manip off of these fundamentals by keeping your swings neutral.
Start with
things
this.
like that.
Start with these fundamentals and then build your play style off of this. Don't try and find gimmicks that work and then try and learn fundamentals. It's counterintuitive.
Yeah, that's a great point. Okay, so we have what neutral swing manip is, why it's good, why faking, why conditioning is good. Now I kind of want to show how you add your offensive footwork into the mix, because mouse movement is only half of swing manip, and that's just a fact. You need to be able to match your mouse movement and what you're trying to do with your footwork of your opponent. In a real fight, we're not ever going to be standing still just looking at each other. Oh, drag, oh, excel. We're going to be circling each other, moving back and forth in and out of range. It's different every single time. So generally you want to know, I mean, it's kind of obvious. If I want to excel my opponent, I want to move to his opposite shoulder to get my weapon to him faster. So this would just be a neutral excel with no footwork. With footwork, it would look something like that. You see how I'm going to the left? What it's doing... Oh, I'm sorry?
Go ahead. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I think you're going to get to the point that I was going to say.
What I'm doing is I'm bringing my weapon's release state to mark as fast as I can by moving out with my swing. I don't know if I'm explaining that correctly. Maybe you want to...
Yeah, I was gonna explain the same thing. That the whole goal of, like say he's going for an excel and he's moving towards my shoulder. The reason he's doing that is because my release state starts somewhere off on the side of my camera.
Yep.
So I'm barely. Cologne's not even on screen. And I'm hitting him here. So he's basically trying to.
Let me showcase that from my point of view.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Like you see how I'm not even looking at Mark right now. I could barely see him on my screen and I'm hitting him. And that's where you take advantage of the footwork.
Yeah, he's trying to hit me at the earliest part of release that he can when he's work to enhance his excel.
Yep, and the same. So for excels, if you're doing a right strike to the left, you wanna be moving with your strike. You wanna be moving the same direction your weapon's going. If it's vice versa, you wanna be moving with your strike. And if you wanna do drags, it's a little bit different with drags. And the reason I say this is because let's come into the lighting so the lighting's not weird. Drags get a little complicated because of something called tracking, and we're going to get into that very soon. But you want to usually be moving the same direction with your swing when you do drags to fake an excel. So if I stay neutral and I'm running this way, it's going to look like I do an excel, but if I pull out, it turns into a drag. But notice how I'm still footworking in this direction.
Yeah, and the main reason you want to footwork towards your opponent, I mean, you don't always have to footwork towards your opponent when you're dragging, but generally it's a good idea so you don't miss. So if I drag and I'm footworking away from him, then I might miss, unless you know what you're doing and you can do like other advanced types of swing manip. But generally you want to footwork towards your opponent while dragging, and actually dragging and excelling. Generally you just want to footwork towards them so you can hit them at the later part of release.
Yep.
There is like a certain drag. I don't know if you want me to go into this, but there is like another footwork drag where like, you come in and then move away from your opponent, and you're basically just letting your footwork drag for you.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
I guess
I'm
we
missing
can
those
get
too.
into that towards the end. But
Okay. Yeah.
why don't you show me some footwork accels right now, and then show me some footwork drags.
Do you want me to start from neutral or
Yeah, just
go for
do
like the insider?
yeah neutral. Just keep everything neutral. Neutral accels with footwork. Neutral drags with footwork.
Okay.
Notice how he's ending
And
up
that's another.
over to my right.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah, that's another thing to keep in mind too, is when you use footwork to enhance like your excels or even drags, it is kind of an offensive, like you're using your footwork offensively, so you are giving up a little bit of defense for when I'm getting off topic here, but just remember that you're giving yourself a little more offense. You have to be careful after your swing goes into recovery, because like you might have missed or something, and you have to make sure you look at your opponent. But
Right.
anyways, I'll continue. Sorry. So
All
these
right.
are just neutral excels,
Yep.
and then neutral drags.
Like, Mark's doing a really good example at showcasing why that same footwork is really important. So, I know we just talked about this, but I wanna really bang it into your heads. Is he's running this direction like he's about to excel me, and in my head I'm thinking an excel's coming. His weapon is super close to my face. He's running to my opposite shoulder. He's going to excel me, and then at the last second he's pivoting his mouse and his body and letting his weapon just fall into me. It's almost it's very little. It's honestly not that much mouse movement. It's just a
Yeah.
pivot, and you're using your W key, and then you're switching it to your S key when you pivot.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're moving away, you're backing kind of from your opponent a little bit, and you're continuing to move towards his side that you're swinging towards.
Right. All right. So that's footwork. That's how you incorporate your footwork with your swing manip. And it's super important to mention that footwork it can be its own 30-minute video, and me and
Yeah.
Mark will be doing an entire video just solely on footwork. So I know we're showing specific examples of what you should be doing with footwork, but it will change in almost every situation just because of that point before where you're never standing still, you're always moving in a fight.
Yeah. Fights are very dynamic.
Yep. So we're going to go into tracking now, and what tracking is, and how it's important, and how it's basically one of the biggest things newer players struggle with is when a newer player's starting this game and they're trying to do these drags or these excels. Sometimes opponents will just run in circles around you, and it feels like they're just inputting and they're running in circles around you, and you can't keep up with them. You're doing a swing, then you're trying to get back on point, and like you can visually see these players that they lose track of what's going on, and it makes their offense and defense a lot harder. So
Yeah, we can give an example of like you trying to drag me and maybe like over drag a little bit, and I'll like chamber and run away.
okay, yeah. So this is a very common example of what happens. All right, ready, Mark? Let's go.
Yeah.
I miss my drag, I over drag, and Mark chambers and gets behind me, and then I'm like, oh, he's behind me, and I spin around, and now my mouse is off place, and I'm like, my mouse is on the bottom left of my mouse pad, and I have to move it again, and it's very disorienting when it happens. So this is why keeping your mouse neutral and your swing manip neutral is super important. It is so important
Yeah.
that you do this.
Like the main point we're trying to show here is that you have to pay attention to what your opponent's doing, and to do that you want to pretty much stay neutral with your camera and keep your camera on him until you enter release. But even during release, your opponent can run away or run towards your attack.
Right.
So you need to try and pay attention to that, and adjust what you're doing accordingly. If you need to drag away from your opponent because he's running in, then do so. If you need to move your swing towards your opponent because he's running away and you don't want to miss, then you can do that as well.
Right. So once I restart the map, we'll show some more examples of that real quick. So I'll have Mark try to just do some tracking against me, and I'll be trying to turn cap Mark in chamber and run around the outside, and then we'll switch it to where I'm doing the swing manip to show you. So I want you to try to
Okay.
track what I'm doing, Mark, and punish me for
So actually
early
try and hit
chambering.
you?
Yeah. Ready?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even I'm making this mistake, but good.
Wait, let me turn damage off, stamina off. Okay, go.
This is kind of a tough thing to do. You have to be fast to react. But like right there when I hit clone, I barely moved my mouse because I saw him running away. So I couldn't keep dragging in the way I was dragging.
Like you see.
Now if I over dragged, watch, let me over drag and I'll let
Okay.
them see you run away. Go ahead.
Yep.
Oh. So he chambered early to stop the Accel, and then he at the same time he's running away. So if I do drag, I potentially miss him. I potentially miss him, and he gets the punish on me.
Yep. And you can see how I'm always chambering him, and I'm trying to move away from his swing, and Mark is pulling his swing back into me after it's been dragged. So the thing about this is, when someone's going crazy and turn tapping you and it seems like it's a rat and they're running all over your face and you don't know what's going on, just stay relaxed and keep your mouse neutral. When someone's turn capping you, you don't need big right inputs to drag. Sometimes people will literally turn cap themselves into a drag. So right here, let's showcase. Yeah. I'm not going to move my mouse, Mark, just early chamber and try to turn cap this way.
Okay.
I didn't... You see how little I move my mouse? We'll do it again. He's putting himself into a drag, correct. So that just shows how little you really have to be moving your mouse, and how you should be paying attention more to what your opponent's doing rather than what you want to do.
Yeah, don't plan your attacks out. Don't be okay, I'm going to do a drag now and just do this, you know, like
big
360
big long drag on him. Exactly. So I'm going to track you, Mark. I want you to just do the early chambers, try to get out of my swings.
Yeah. You can also show if you're not tracking too.
Alright, now I'm going to show bad tracking. Let's do the same thing.
Yeah. I just missed.
You see how I'm letting
not paying attention to what I'm doing
exactly.
Here. He's just dragging, and he doesn't even understand what I was doing the whole time. During your swing manipulation, you still are looking at your opponent and seeing what they're doing. You're still reading in a sense.
Yep. So I think that is pretty accurately depicted. Tracking, super important. It's really going to be the difference between good swing manip, great swing manip, and the best swing manip. And the best players can always get better tracking. They can always get better footwork. So it's not, don't expect to be pros after this. This is the fundamentals of swing manip. The more you play, the more you practice these, the better your skill set will get. And the more you'll be able to
learn what works better with people.
Yes, everybody has a different play style. That's a great point. Alright, so...
Also...
Okay, go ahead.
We can continue. No, it wasn't important. It's okay.
Okay, I believe we have riposte.
Yes, riposte, of course.
Riposte, okay. The bread and butter of swing manip, I'd say, is riposte. It's going to be the most applicable. It's probably the best. I mean, riposte, you can't morph, you can't feint. So the only thing you can do with riposte is swing manip and excel and drag, and that's probably when it's the most effective because you have a shorter windup when you're in a riposte.
What is it, 150 milliseconds left or something?
I have no idea about the actual times, but I do know that some people can completely slaughter you in fights by only riposting, and they'll just excel, then they'll drag, and then you get caught in like a cyclone. That's a funny word because he's a good player. Of like just swing manipulation. So I'm gonna have Mark show me what some neutral excels from riposte look like. What? What's so funny, big guy?
I'm not laughing. What are you talking about?
Oh. Yeah, so we're gonna do basically the whole neutral excel, whole neutral drag thing, except we're just gonna do it in a riposte form. So I'm gonna throw an attack, and Mark's gonna do a riposte excel. Like the animation just looks so broken. And then you do it, and then he does a drag. Yep, and I'm already dead. It's very easy to condition people with ripostes, and it's very easy to catch people with riposte excels, riposte drags. So enough
Interesting
of me
because it's a
talking.
very basic type of mix-up. It's just like two options, excel or drag, but it's so effective
So
because it's
effective.
very hard to read.
Yep.
Very hard to read.
Okay, so I'm gonna start feeding you some riposte, show me some accels, then drags, then mix it up again. Wow, those are some nasty accels. Alright, now let's do some drags.
And I'm also doing some micro movements. Like generally, the more experience you get, like the more you'll learn how to do these like micro movements to like fake excels and drags. But you don't need to do these things. Like I could just keep it neutral and then move my camera in the direction I want to move to.
Yeah, that's a good point, because you might be seeing while I'm doing my swing manipulation is I might be moving my camera a little bit and not doing what I'm
Before
saying.
release.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is that's what Mark just said. It's built into my own swing minute personally. It's because you learn to kind of like catch your. Okay, so this is off topic, and
Yeah,
I'm
my
going to
bad.
explain it anyway because it's kind of important the better you get at swing minute. When I am in windup, sometimes I bounce. I'll bounce my cursor, and it'll kind of look like I'm going into an excel or I'm going into a drag. Like you can see I'm bouncing, then I'm excelling, or I'm bouncing, then I'm dragging. And the reason I do that is, one, to fake an excel, which very slightly throws in a body feint, and two, it's to time my own weapon to when I'm going to enter release. I can feel when I enter release by doing that bounce. It gives me a better time frame of what my weapon's doing.
Oh, it's like your own personal thing you do.
Yeah.
Feel out the release. It's interesting.
So,
Sorry, go ahead.
okay, so you just did some drags on me. Now I'm going to do some riposte, neutral excels, neutral drags. So I'll
I
start with
can also
excels.
show the. Yeah, go for it.
Alright, now I'll do some drags.
And now, if me and Clone were really fighting here, I'd be kind of. He just excelled me 3 times in a row, so I'm like pressured to react fast to what he's doing.
Right.
So he's conditioned me to get excelled and to have to react really fast to his riposte.
The timing between a full max drag to the end of your release and to a fully excelled swing is so big, it's pretty crazy. So what we can do real quick, Mark, is why don't we just riposte battle each other a little bit?
Sure.
And just show what swing manip at our level might look like if we just want to throw everything out the window and just riposte battle each other.
Sure. That was a really nasty one.
Alright, so that'll maybe give you an idea of how the mix-ups come into play. Like, Mark caught me with, I think, like 4 or 5 drags, and the reason it's just like you can tell that he's conditioning me to parry early with his crazy neutral excels, to where I'm almost guessing with his body movement that an excel's coming.
It's like a 50-50.
Yeah, and then a giant drag comes and you get whacked by it. So that was a great, that was really smart. That was really a great example of how riposte battles and faking and mixing up can be utilized at some of the highest level.
God, we're so smart.
Yeah, geniuses.
So fucking cool.
So that covers the basics and fundamentals of swing manip. Now we're gonna go into types of, you know, like more advanced drags in just a second here, but I want to kind of close up the swing manip with kind of reiterating what Mark was saying before, is that it's a building block. It's always going to be adapting. Your swing manip is going to be different every single duel you're in, every single fight you're in. It's going to be a different scenario. So if you follow the fundamental principles, you know, you're always going to get better. And if you develop bad habits and you don't follow the fundamentals, you're going to get plateaued pretty quickly and you're not going to know what to do about it. So try to follow the fundamental steps and just keep working and improving. It is so difficult to really get good at this game. You need to put in a lot of hours. The best players in the game struggle with this. I personally struggle with my swing manip and my defensive swing manip. So like, don't get discouraged. It comes with time. It comes with experience. And yeah, do you have any any remarks about it that you want to go?
I think you covered pretty much everything.
All right. So
shit at this game.
Yeah, dog shit players. We can go into types of drags. So we got the foot drag, Wessex, and what was the other one? Foot drag,
underhand. Let's go over the basic drag for each angle. Just
Okay.
the very basic, like just moving the camera away.
Okay.
Just to start with.
Me first?
Sure. So like, well, yeah, obviously the most simple, and it's still effective. It doesn't mean it's bad. It's just the very basic way to drag someone is just moving your camera away from them.
Right.
No matter what the angle is. The overheads are a little harder because the turn cap might be a little different on the weapon, and also just the vertical mouse movement in general is usually harder for people than horizontal.
Yeah.
But it's the same concept. You just move your camera away.
Yep.
From what you're doing. Underhands are a little different. You don't really move your camera back because then you'll hit the floor. You do essentially the same thing as an LMB. You just move it away.
Yeah.
That's just because of the angle of the attack.
Underhands are the hardest drags to perform, I'd say. But they are still extremely effective. So I'm going to show example. This would be a regular LMB drag, regular overhead drag, regular underhand drag that I just missed. So we'll go into, or what were you going to say?
Oh, you're good.
We'll go into foot drags now. And this is kind of going to play on faking Accels foot drags. They're so effective, and you rarely see people land overhead drags that look like this. You very rarely get dragged with players who just pull their mouse up with drag or with overhands, and that's because it's super easy to kind of see that that's gonna happen. So what a
You
lot
also
of
look up and you get a really fat
extended parry. Yep. So foot drags, or what you're doing basically is you're bringing your weapon. You're winding up kind of a little bit lower, so your weapon's looking like he's winding up right in Mark's camera, like if I'm doing these Accels, and you're pulling it out to the side, which makes it look like it's floating around his parry box and back into his foot. So I'm gonna have Mark do some to me because it'll look a lot different. So why don't you do some foot drags to me? Just do some foot drags to me. Neutral, and then we'll do some reposts. Like you can see his weapon looks like it's about to wind up into my face, and then it floats right around my parry into my feet. So foot drag is you're bringing it around the parry box, you're faking the Accel around the parry box into the foot. So do some reposts. That was a great example. Another great example.
Great example.
Great example. Great example. Okay. Now I want you to do just a overhead look up drag with a repost, just to see the difference between a foot drag and then this shitty ass drag.
I don't think it's bad. Mine, I've done them for a while. I don't think they're bad, but they're harder. They're harder to do, right?
It's harder to get me to fall for the Accel when you do these kind of drags.
Yeah.
Like I can almost tell that he's about to do it because his shoulder is up a little further when he's in wind up, rather than when you're doing a foot drag, you're kind of inside your opponent.
Staring at the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are foot drags. Go ahead and explain.
Yeah, foot drags are definitely the most effective overhead drag you can do. You'll catch a lot of people with that.
Everybody can work on their foot drags no matter what. Everybody can work on their drags in general, I guess. But go ahead and explain to me what a Wessex is, a Wessex drag. Or a cucumber
Wessex,
jag, whatever they call it.
it's also called a cucumber. The actual drag itself, the goal of it is you start your swing on one side, and at the end of the swing you hit their opposite shoulder. But I don't suggest trying to do that really. The main goal of the Wessex is you're just trying to get over their parry box while they're parrying. Because if Cologne sees my attack coming at me, he's gonna parry, especially if I'm faking Accel. He parries early, and then I move my attack over his parry box, because you could think of it as a big box extending out of Cologne's body while he's parrying. I'm moving it around his parry box so he doesn't get the parry, and I bring it back into him. The Wessex itself is technically supposed to hit the other side shoulder, but that's really hard to do, and I don't think anyone should aim to do that. You're just trying to go over their parry box.
Yeah, and that's a good the whole parry box thing is super important, because when you just to throw out this right here, this is also a very advanced type of drag to do, and you won't be pulling this off unless you got a lot of practice into it. When you parry, you have a box, that's your parry box, and at the very center, you have a little extending cone, and it's called extended parry. So if Mark throws, let's just say Mark throws a drag, just throw a neutral drag at me, Mark, I can run in and try to catch the drag, utilizing extended parry. So do it again. Well, or sometimes extended parry doesn't work, but keep going, just keep doing it. Like a lot of players, you'll see them try to catch drags. They'll run in and they'll try to catch the drag. I do it a lot. Everybody does it a lot. And that's when the cucumber or the Wessex drag will be extremely effective, because you just pull it right over that extended parry and drop it into them. So why don't you do it to me? I'll give you some reposts. I'll give you some reposts first.
You want me to do it? Okay. Do it from the other side. It's a little easier for me.
This side?
Yeah.
Great example. He literally looks like his weapons.
That was a proper cucumber. That I actually hit his opposite side shoulder. You don't need to do that every time though. But I'm going over Cologne's extended parry, and I'm hitting him at the end of my release.
I'm trying to that side. Okay, now I'll show it from my perspective.
You want me to run into it?
Yeah, try to get the extended parry. I'm not very good at these though. That's the only problem. Let me do it without the riposte. It'll be a little easier to do. So you're bringing it over the parry and dropping it into them. Over the parry and dropping it into them.
I can also send you the clip of me doing them if you want.
Yeah, I'll throw it in at the end. That's probably a good idea.
Yep. It might be a good idea just to like show some duels, riposte duels and stuff like that towards the end.
Alright, we can do them now. I mean, I think we covered everything.
Oh yeah, I think that's everything.
Yeah.
Oh, the underhand drag.
Oh,
underhand.
Smart Mark. Alright, so give me an underhand drag repost.
Oh, sorry. So what I'm doing, I'm not moving my camera down, as it might be like intuitive to move it down to try and move your sword away. I'm actually doing the same thing as an L and B drag, and I'm just moving my camera to the right or left away from Cologne's body.
Yep.
So the end of my sword is kind of hitting his like head, shoulder area. Or the end of my release is hitting his head, shoulder area.
That's because look what happens. I'll move my mouse down to try to drag. Oh, I hit the floor. I'll do it again. I hit his feet. I hit the floor. It's inconsistent when you try to do that. You want to be moving kind of almost like a U. You almost want to be bringing it out to the right and then back into them. So
I move my camera just pretty much completely horizontal. Maybe a tiny bit angled downwards, but that's all I do is just horizontal.
I guess you can kind of, you for underhands you're gonna have to find your own thing, because I can't tell you, oh, move directly 90 degrees to the right. You got to feel it out. You got to do some at the wall. Come over to the wall here, excel in underhand, try to drag the underhand. This pillar is the best training tool in Mordhau.
Yeah, it actually is.
You see the highest level players before scrims, they're like, oh, hitting walls. You're like, what the hell is this guy doing?
Yeah. I treat the corners as like a player, and I try and hit the corner.
Yep. So, just real quick, do some underhand accels and drags, and then we'll do some repost duels, and then that'll be it. We'll wrap it up.
Yeah. Do you want me to give you riposte, or do you want me to? Oh, you're just gonna do them?
No, I'm giving you reposts.
Oh. I just over-excelled. Those are underhand accels. I'm bringing my camera into him.
Look at how fast those accels are, too.
Yeah, and then I mix it up with the drag.
Alright. So we're gonna change it. We're gonna do like 1 or 2 or 3 riposte duels, and then we'll call it from there.
How long is this so far?
I don't know, but I hope people are still watching.
Yeah. You made it this far, you've unlocked your private session with Clone and Marklar.
Alright. Is damage on? Yes, it is.
Gonna just do riposte?
Yeah, we'll just riposte each other. Mark landed a super nice Wessex drag.
I hit
on
an
there.
underhand LMB drag. That's probably a good one to show because I did all 3 of the drags we went over.
Literally, that was a Wessex drag, foot drag, LP drag.
Oh, sorry. I'm just like actually dueling. I'm tryharding right now. Nasty Accel.
You can, it's crazy because once you start doing these types of drags, these neutral drags, you're going to be able to feel when you hit someone like, wow, that Accel was broken. That was a
Yeah, and people are going to tell you that whatever you just did was broken.
Yeah, they're going to, it breaks the animation. It's crazy. Okay, so we're going to do 1 or 2 more. And, yeah, that'll be it. Like, that was broken. Very nice. Alright, last one. Big guy. Woo.
Good juice.
Alright, so hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments if you like this live kind of scheme. I'm going to start doing a lot of these videos with Mark. Maybe, like I said earlier, we're going to do footwork. We're going to do offense videos, defense videos, you know, the mind game videos, initiative. Like, there's so much we can go over. And it's really nice to have a super skilled player like Mark play with me and, you know, kind of help me explain this stuff. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Hope you guys enjoyed. Yeah, that's it. So take care.
You guys.
Boom.
That was pretty good.
Alt Z. Uh-oh. Why isn't all?
Oh, you weren't recording?
No, I was.
Really weren't.